Hello and welcome to StepCG's webinar series. My name is William Montgomery and I'm responsible for the healthcare practice at StepCG. We are an innovative, fast-growing IT solutions engineering team helping healthcare providers successfully meet the challenges of a rapidly evolving landscape to deliver better patient outcomes. I'm really excited about today's topic on the quadruple aim of healthcare because, well, every provider is dealing with these challenges today, now more than ever. And joining me today is someone uniquely qualified to share his expert insights, Dave McLean of Extreme Networks. Extreme is a global leader in cloud-driven networking solutions and services and a terrific partner of ours. How are you today, Dave?
Hey, doing well, thank you.
Excellent, glad to have you here. So before I turn it over to Dave, I'll let you know that today's session is recorded and will be available upon request. We have folks from around the country listening in. We want to hear from you. Send us your questions in the chat window on your screen, and we'll answer them at the end. Next slide. StepCG is an award-winning IT engineering team delivering advanced network infrastructure solutions and services to solve our customers' most complex initiatives and meet their desired outcomes. We partner with our clients to develop a strategy that gets you where you want to be. We bring with us the very best leading-edge technology, like Extreme Networks, to ensure that our solutions are agile, scalable, and secure. Our engineering team is second to none. They work hard to earn our place as a trusted partner, so you can rest with the peace of mind knowing that we are accountable and always available. Next slide. StepCG is leading the way in the latest product and service offerings in security, voice, cellular, wireless, end-to-end networking integration, and managed services. Next. And we're focused on helping our healthcare clients achieve that quadruple aim with solutions that reduce cost, ensure compliance, increase security, and enhance the experience of both patients and clinicians alike. And now I'll turn it over to Dave McLean. Dave brings over 20 years of IT leadership and expertise, specializing in operations and security. After serving our country's military and government, Dave has dedicated his career to healthcare IT. Prior to joining Extreme, he was Senior IT Director at one of the largest healthcare systems in the U.S. And today, he is manager of Extreme's Healthcare Solutions Engineering team. I'm really glad you're here today, Dave. Take it away.
Hey, thanks for that, William, and thank you for StepCG for inviting me and hosting this event. We've got a ton of material. I'm checking my clock now, so we've got probably more material than we can do justice for. But we're going to give it a try, and we're going to fly through this. So it's going to be like a stone skipping across the water. My primary goal out of today is to hopefully you get something out of this. Maybe there's a tidbit of information that applies to you or that resonates with you. Maybe you learn something about concepts of healthcare business in general. I don't know, we may have some technical folks out there, so I've got a topology slide for them, but most of it is concepts in business and healthcare administration. So as William said, I've got over 17 years in direct healthcare experience. I think I've hit every vertical out there and came back to healthcare twice and found my calling. So my entire family is healthcare. My wife's an ER nurse. My daughter's a cardiac ICU nurse. My son's not in healthcare, but he married a pharmacist, so that counts. So what I want to do is I just want to talk a little bit. I've got like 4 of the obligatory marketing slides. So just talk a little bit about Extreme. You know, we're 30,000 or 3,000 employees. We're worldwide with in 80 countries with 30,000 customers. And the differentiation for us is really about our history of innovation and our culture of being accessible, agile, and accountable for events or for execution. We execute. We use open architecture, and we do one of our primary differentiation in healthcare, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, is our end-to-end fabric and cloud services. What I really want to point out here is that we're also #1 ranked for service and support, and we use 100% of our employees are in-house, in-sourced employees, direct employees that are interfacing with all of our customers on any service support issue. Anytime you talk to an Extreme person, we are Extreme. This is a worldwide map of our healthcare customers. So I talked about being, in 80-some countries and 30,000 customers. We have about 4,000, was it, healthcare customers around the world. As far as our technologies and how we rate, so I was talking about the #1 ranked service and support. We continue, and this is based on Gartner's services and support surveys that they send out. The responses that come back, we continue to beat some of our competitors out there, and we continue to be year after year remaining in the leaders quadrant. So, the reason that we are out there in that leaders quadrant is just from our simplicity. We do a lot of edge automation, and we leverage, I'm going to throw some product names out there. We leverage Extreme Control, which is NAC type services. We use Fabric Attach, and I'll get into that in a minute, and Fabric Connect, and we provide security services inherent in our fabric. As far as our cloud-driven offering, what we're doing in a company-wide, corporate-wide move and strategy is we're taking our entire breadth of product and we're moving the cloud management, we're moving management of all those devices into the cloud. Now, some people are adopting cloud, some are leery about cloud services, some despise cloud discussions. That's okay, because on our products and what we're trying to do is give you the opportunity to go to cloud. So we give you a choice. So in the cloud choice, we give you the ability to host in the public cloud, in a private cloud, or even on-prem. And the reason that we do that is because our cloud services and the offering that we have developed in the cloud is ISO 27001 certified. We're the first and only cloud management solution to have that certification. So not only the ISO, but in Europe and the rest of the world, we also adhere to global data privacy regulations, or GDPR, out there for those folks that are overseas. Cloud services make networking really effortless, right? So you're going to hear me talk about standardization, simplification, consolidation, centralization, in a number of different points in our kind of a discussion today. But that is the core of what we're looking at in all of our product lines, and especially when we start looking at cloud services. It's an end-to-end solution from an edge all the way to the data center. The quality of the services, we can run on any of the big 3 cloud offerings, so within AWS, Azure, or Google. So let's get on to what we're actually going to talk about. So healthcare and administration, and business administration within healthcare. I know this looks like your typical hospital room, right? Everybody has rooms like this. I will tell you, this is years and years ago, maybe there was rooms that looked like that. Rooms today look more like this, where there is an integration of a number of IT services and products, where there's devices, everything's IP enabled. So when you look at that IP enablement, everything's IP enabled. One of the manufacturers, I think it was from GE, was talking about their system collects over 300 data points for every breath the patient takes. So that's 300 data points that's being collected, that's being processed, that's being sent across the network, maybe to an EMR, maybe to some other integrated systems. There's an explosion of data that's out there on the network. So with Extreme, where we're heading is that we want to be able, and I'm going to use the analogy of electricity, right? When you look at these types of functions on your network, it really is that we want to enable the network infrastructure and your IT infrastructure to be a communications network, right? We want it to be, and we want it to kind of change the thought process of moving, maybe you have folks that come in today and I provide network infrastructure services, right? We need to get into the mindset that we, and network infrastructure and healthcare IT in general, we support services. We support integration of these different applications and devices. The network is just a communication system. It's just a utility on the back end that facilitates that integration. We need to focus more on how do these systems integrate? How do we use these systems within healthcare? So that gets us to the Quadruple Aim. So with Quadruple Aim, we talk about patient experience, we talk about reduced costs, improved population health, and improved clinician health. And I apologize, there's some folks adapt a triple aim, which is the first three: improve patient experience, reduce costs, improve population health. Others talk about a quadruple aim, and I think a quadruple aim is probably more apparent. So talking about improved population health, this is where instead of serving the patient in a large brick and mortar hospital, we're reaching out and we're providing medical services and physician services, clinical services out to where the person lives or where that patient lives, where they work, where they play, in the suburbs or wherever they are located. We want to extend those services out to the population, right? Your most costly way to deliver service is to have that patient in a room. So there, you need to reserve and make sure that your admissions, et cetera, are appropriate. So when we talk about reduced costs, we want to reduce the unnecessary ER visits. We want to reduce the unnecessary physician visits. We want to have those happening out in the lifestyle of that patient. Improved clinician experience, we'll talk about that more in a minute, but that sounds pretty self-explanatory. The doctor, the nurse being able to provide services within the clinical space seamlessly, not have what we call alarm fatigue or an efficient work process that has IT integrated into it. That's also not breaking that clinical process. And then the most important is the patient experience. I can tell you years ago in my early healthcare career, we weren't as focused about patient experience as we were with clinician experience. And the reason is that back early 2000s, it was more about healthcare organizations. I may say HDO, that's healthcare delivery organizations. Healthcare delivery organizations were competing for physicians in their area, making it easy for that physician to become credentialed within their facility or their organization and provide services from that organization. So it was really important to make sure that what was happening and how we served that clinician, because if you serve the clinician well, then they bring their patients. So that's the old idea of volume versus value. So if you look at governmental mandates here, we've now switched that, and we want to say we're more focused in healthcare with the value of the service that's being provided rather than the volume. So that's where patient focus comes really into play. So as you guys know, there's HiCAP scores that are out there that are bringing patient experience to the forefront. So the HiCAPs has three basic goals. So when a patient comes in, they're doing surveys, they're talking to and providing HiCAP results. And those goals for HiCAPs, there's three of them. And I'll just go read them real quick. Produce data about patient experiences to allow meaningful comparisons. So that's a consumer perspective, right? So the government is using the HiCAP scores for a stated goal of providing data about the experience to make meaningful comparisons and make those comparisons available to the public. The second one is that public reporting. So consumer based, so that there's public understands what others are experiencing within your healthcare organization. And then the third is enhancing accountability. So through the transparency of quality, so in those high cap score, there's an area about quality. They can look and say the quality based on the investments that those healthcare organizations are making. So that's kind of the governmental mandate and a mix with the patient experience. But the patient experience, healthcare is probably the last vertical to take on a consumer position. So, for instance, if you walk into a physician, say, how much will it cost for my MRI or for this procedure? Odds are they can't provide a total cost to that patient. We're the last industry that has that issue. If you walk into a grocery store, you know how much you're going to pay. You walk into a car dealer, you may negotiate, but you know how much you're going to pay. So that's the transparency and the cost value and managing readmissions to ensure that that patient experience isn't being readmitted into the hospital and that quality of services is there. So that's patient experience. The clinician experience and the safety and quality is obviously, if you make it hard for the clinician to work, then quality for the patient also drops. So they're kind of linked, but it's the ease in which the clinician can do their work, their job, their clinical workflows, that they have IT processes that support those clinical workflows. They have IT processes that may direct a modification in a workflow. For instance, efficiency gains may be identified by technology. The other change and shift in clinician experience from over the years is now a team-based approach, where previously it might just been a physician and a nurse, the nurse, whoever was on duty, but now it's in a team-based approach. So you have to be able to provide that clinical decision support and to the appropriate teams. Financial challenges out there in the healthcare world, 18%, this is last year, was GDP was going to healthcare, and that's not sustainable. So in terms of cost control, and that's one of the quadruple aim elements, at a national level, it is to reduce the amount of spend and provide dollars for those quality organizations. That's why they're doing high caps. If there's readmissions, you lose value, you're fined, et cetera. Technology innovation, which is why I want to save that to last. That explosion of services that you saw in that ER, in that hospital room, in the picture that I showed earlier, and the data points that are being collected drives a ton of information that's being added into the healthcare organization. So how to use that information in a real-time decision-making is where we're heading with regards to real-time health systems. So some folks talk about it as a smart hospital, others may say, or smart health or real-time health. It's the same thing. Technology and innovation is also driving the business and market agility. So, there's in healthcare IT, there's been very long cycles for change management. Your project portfolios exceeds the amount of available man hours you have in your IT staff to be able to deliver those. So the project delivery times are very extended, and that reduces your ability to respond to your business elements, to your business and administration folks, that they want to open a clinic out there in the suburbs, that they want to open a service or provide a service. And then, of course, we mentioned it briefly about AI and machine learning. That's the benefit also in the cloud services. So as far as the top 10 in healthcare executive priorities, this is from a recent healthcare executive group survey. Data and analytics, leveraging data to manage health and drive team care decisions is one of the most important items, in integrating with business workflows. Cybersecurity in healthcare, you guys all know that cybersecurity remains very top of mind, especially in COVID. And I failed to mention when I was talking about population health, I can talk here about population health services. The biggest impact and influence to population health in the recent months is COVID. And that even affects the digital healthcare organization. So being able to reach out to that patient that now can't come into the ER, right? So only emergencies, true emergencies were being treated. All the ambulatory sites may have been reduced or reduced capacity, extra precautions. So being able to treat and interact or engage with that patient out in the suburbs and in the population became vital. And that was a major impetus in the last few months. Operational effectiveness, using data and information to drive lean quality programs, right? Do process cycle management and real-time or near-time point of sales transactions, how to create effectiveness within that workflow. Digital healthcare organizations, there's been a lot of talk about that. Again, COVID kind of pushed that to the forefront here. What I want to talk is all of that information that's out there and how it came about, how it happened. This is the pillars for real-time health systems. So if you think about a strategy, you think back to the Quadruple Aim. Quadruple Aim's purpose is to have used as an evaluation for projects. Whether it's an IT project, whether it's a building project for your healthcare organization, it doesn't matter. It is an evaluation of 4 things of how it's going to impact and provide value or return to that healthcare organization. So if you hit, 100% return for, patient experience, that's great, but you want to get all of those elements for every project has an integration point. So you have to weigh all 4 of those Quadruple Aim points to be able to provide a service that has value out there. Now, from an IT perspective, we talked about all of those systems that was generating data and information within the healthcare. How do you organize that? How do you provide for that? So there's 4 basic pillars. There's the experience platform, your ecosystems, your information systems, and your IoT. Starting with your experience platform, that is all of your portals. So outside is who's engaging. So your consumers, your patients, your caregivers. Those folks are engaging and interacting with your systems, and that overall is your experience. So some of you guys may even have chief experience officers out there. Some really forward-looking healthcare organizations have that, where they're focused on what is our interaction points with all of our patients and with our clinicians. How can we improve that? What are roadblocks? How do they interact and engage with all of our systems? The ecosystems platform is all of those things that are connected to your healthcare organization. So it might be third-party labs, could be R&D services, upper level or higher level education. Those are those types of connections and interactions is your ecosystems. Your information systems platform is your traditional IT services, servers, etc. That has your EMR, has your financial systems, everything that's in your data center, everything that's traditional. And then your IoT platform is one that is new in recent years with the explosion of information. So you talk about patients being at home and doing home monitoring where they may have an IoT type device that's now remote in a home that can connect into this IoT platform. So if I take a step back, it's about networks and communication systems now focusing on service delivery of specific items. So service delivery within IoT, service delivery within ecosystems, service delivery within the experience. Maybe it's a patient portal, maybe it's a clinician interface. All of those then become services. The ultimate goal is for those services to roll up into a data and analytics platform. That's where the true magic of real-time health systems. That's where, and I will tell you, some healthcare organizations are getting started on this, but no one's actually reached where all of that data from all of the other pillars are now piling into this data warehouse or data lake to perform real-time decision based on AI, machine learning of those processes. So when we talk about process efficiencies, effectiveness, etc., Now, if you have a data lake, you have a data warehouse, and you have the appropriate AI ML focus, you can, in the future, potentially drive things truly automated across the healthcare delivery organization, both on the finance side, the administration, revenue cycle, and even in patient care. So what facilitates that is automated campus for us. So one of the things when I talk about a network providing a communication system, it really is about a fabric. And we have a fabric offering, which is called Automated Campus, that allows the infrastructure to be provisioned and new services added from the edge. So what this does is it reduces all of the human errors. If you have issues within cores and change windows where you have human errors within a core distribution, this prevents that. You're not touching those devices. The other thing that this does is from a security standpoint, the difference with a fabric is that the way that we build fabric is through what we call virtual services platforms, shortest path bridging software, and then a management center on top, or Cloud IQ. That creates that virtual services fabric that all of the networks then reside on, that fabric. That fabric now supports service networks where I can have a lab network on the fabric. I can have a radiology network transported on the fabric. I can have clinicals, video surveillance, PCI, building access and controls and alarms. I can have up to 16 million virtual service networks on the same physical wires, totally independent of each other, totally segmented and segregated from each other with no access into each other. Now, through design and through other means, we can build these networks to talk to each other, but you can also create very hyper-segmented networks and services. So if you think about your healthcare organization, you are operating a communications network. You have multiple tenants and multiple organizations on your communications network. You are a carrier. You are a service provider. And being able to segregate all of those types of services and tenants out provides the security for all of that, all of your different customers, but it also provides quality and control for all of these various networks to be able to communicate to each other. All right, here's my one topology slide. So if you have a data center, you have multiple buildings out there, what's shaded is that what we call Fabric Connect, that's that fabric. So what happens is when an individual or a user comes into the IDF or comes in onto your network, they're using what's called fabric attach. So whether they show up wireless or wired, doesn't matter. That IDF right now has no idea what services it needs to provide to that user. When the user authenticates to the network, authenticates through NAC, it then says, oh, I know what this user needs or what service they need. And that is automatically extended to that IDF at that point in time. As soon as that user leaves and unplugs, that service is withdrawn from that network if they're that last user on that switch stack. So again, this is just kind of a illustration of what happens. On the left is your traditional status quo, where if you had to provision that service through your network, you have to touch every single device in that communications path. Very error prone and very complex, long lead time to be able to manage the change windows, etc. And then over on the right is what happens in Fabric. You just plug the device in. So again, enabling the healthcare network and being able to focus on Quadruple Aim and to be able to prepare for real-time health systems, there's a few things. You have to be dynamic and agile. You have to have those responsiveness and performances within your communications network to support that. It's got to be resilient and out of sight. So again, it's standardize, simplify, consolidate, and simplify. So that is how we're approaching the healthcare and Quadruple Aim. I will say that what we're focused on within Extreme is healthcare, and in terms of the team that I'm a part of, we have, and the way that we are addressing healthcare is that we want healthcare to be successful. We're all in this, we're all here. We all need healthcare services. We all need it to be efficient. We need it to be cost optimized, et cetera. So we want to approach that in a win-win. We believe that with our services, we can reduce those costs. We can reduce the complexity within the network. We can drive digital transformation across our differentiating networks. And there's benefits to that. We've had customers that have come back, and it's been validated third party, where there's a 30% CapEx savings, a 60% OpEx savings, and that they, after year, they continue to beat benchmarks and show their organization value based on their decisions. So that is really what we're looking for and what we're looking to do within healthcare. William?
Dave, these are just really valuable insights that I believe can really help our healthcare providers in this just rapidly evolving landscape, crazy times we're in. Really grateful for sharing that information. And would like to, we're at 30 minutes, but I do want to see, I think there are a couple of questions that came in. Why don't we see if we can answer one or two?
All right, it looks like the first question that came in was about Extreme Cloud IQ. Basically, they asked, what are the benefits for healthcare from an Extreme Cloud IQ perspective?
Well, Extreme Cloud IQ is being able to remove that infrastructure within your environment. As I said, some folks are more adopting of cloud services than others, so there's a spectrum out there among the customers. But within healthcare, it's removing the complexity of on-site devices. It's removing the dependency for access to those on-site devices to be able to manage an event. So when it's in the cloud, you have the ability to manage, troubleshoot, regardless of what's happening within your infrastructure, right? And the way that we do that is that we're managing 3 different planes, right? So you have, on-site devices. Those on-site devices have a control plane and a data plane, which is pretty traditional. We've always had that within our switching environment, within our wireless environment, but we're taking that management plane and the management direction at a cloud level, and we're providing the entire infrastructure and ability to manage that device out in the cloud. It doesn't take your data from your network and put it into the cloud, although it takes meta information about the device itself, how it's performing, what it's doing, and who's connected, and places that information into the cloud. So for instance, daily, we support, I just checked it this morning. This morning we have 1.9 million active clients in our cloud. Those are active endpoint clients that are out there on our cloud. We've had 25,000 admin logins every day. We've had 5 billion management events a day. Management events is that metadata that's going to the cloud. It's all about what that device is, the clients, what's happening, and it's all placed within your specific instance in the cloud. So nobody else has access to it, and it's not, privy or private information. It's not PHI information. It really is information about your infrastructure. So that's why cloud in healthcare, and you talk about the agility, being able to stand up a clinic, being able to stand up a new branch or remote office, or provide wireless services very quickly within an infrastructure, and being able to provide consistent templates to that device setup and that infrastructure, reduces the time to deploy, reduces the time for project delivery.
Excellent. And before we do have one other question, I know we're running out of time here, but I did want to make a quick announcement that if you didn't get your DoorDash card in time for the webinar to get some lunch on us, please do send me an email and we will get that taken care of for you as soon as possible. But then we do have one other question. Joey, what is that? the SPB.
Looks like last question we have is why would you need an SPB, and is it an approved standard protocol?
Yeah, so SPB is an acronym for shortest path bridging. It is the basis of our fabric, and it is a ratified, both IEEE and IETF ratified standard. It was ratified in 2011. So it is an adopted, ratified standard that's out there. We use it to provide that fabric services. It allows us to provide that fabric, and what SPB does is it eliminates all of your loops. So where in current networks you might have spanning tree protocols out there, I'm not going to say it's impossible. It is virtually impossible to create loops within an SPB network, because what's happening is you can have multiple interfaces to adjacent devices, and it's known to SPB. We're using layer 2 Ethernet, or we're using Ethernet switching paths through the fabric, and that's what SPB is allowing us to do. And it also allows us to create those virtual service networks, either a layer 2 or a layer 3 virtual service network on top of that fabric, to be able to take and route multicast across virtually anywhere. And we're extremely good at multicast within healthcare. I would love to kind of delve more into that, but like I said, 20 minutes, I flew through a ton of this. I didn't talk about half of the things I had planned. Again, my goal is get information out there, and hopefully you give us a call, talk to StepCG, talk to Extreme. My information was on the very first slide as far as my email address. William also has it. I would love to have deeper conversations.
You bet. Thank you, Dave. And yes, if anybody would like to have a deeper conversation with Dave McLean, very easily done. I will be glad to get you connected there. And again, Dave, thank you again for that terrific information. I appreciate everyone listening in. We hope you enjoyed today's webinar. We will check in with you to see how we may be of service or help to you. Again, my contact information is here. Just let me know if we can help you in any way. We hope to speak to you soon. Have a terrific day and stay safe.